Welcome to the Veganic Living Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Smith, and this week's guest is Will Tucker. Will Tucker is not only a fitness expert and certified trainer, he's also a 4-time natural bodybuilding champion. He's the owner of Will Tucker Fitness, Arizona's only 100% plant-based fitness studio. He's a contributing author for the Vegan Health and Fitness magazine and a professional speaker educating about protein propaganda in the fitness industry and in our daily lives, as well as the impact on animal, environmental, and health aspects. I had the pleasure of meeting Will for the first time last year at the Vegas Veg Fest, and we spoke then of doing this interview. It took us almost a year to get together at this year's Health, Healing, and Happiness event, but you'll hear it was worth the wait. I'd like to apologize for any background noise while creating this episode. We were located in the only space we could find at this venue, which was located near the kitchen. Thanks for listening. Well, Will, I have to thank you for coming. And I want to get started by asking how you decided to go vegan.
All right, well, thank you for having me, first and foremost. I just wanted to say that. So excited to do this interview with you. How did I go vegan? How do I go from a Midwestern meat and potato guy to a 100% plant-based guy? So, long story short, I grew up in the Midwest in East St. Louis, a small town on the east banks of the Mississippi River. And as I stated, I was a heavy meat and potato guy. You know, if we had meat morning, lunchtime, some type of mystery meat sliding between two slices of bread. At dinner, some type of roast, and I'll use air quotes for that. And but they did put veggies around it to make it look presentable, I guess. But I didn't know what I was doing at that point. So eventually, after graduating college, everything, like I said, my upbringing was in the Midwest. When the economy started going downhill in the mid to late 2000s, and I was working in mortgage banking, I wound up taking a transfer out to the West Coast. And I wound up in Arizona, and it was Thanksgiving Day 2006 where it actually started. I was with some other team members who weren't going home for the holiday, so we had a traditional Thanksgiving at one of their apartments. And, turkey, all the trimmings, and of course, when you get ready to leave, you can't go home without a plate of leftovers. Right. So I had this huge plate of leftovers, and I go back to my tiny little apartment, and I turn on the television. I'm just flipping through channels, and somehow I wound up on the National Geographic channel. And there was a documentary on about animals being born and the connection between the mom and the baby. And I got drawn into it somehow. And they had different types of animals, and all of them had that same intimate connection.
You guys have no extra planes that car?
After the documentary, I just had a epiphany almost, and I just realized, I said, wow, I'm actually eating someone's baby. And immediately after that, I just threw every piece of meat I had out of my apartment. Wow. That day, Thanksgiving 2006. Now, mind you, at this point, I would consider myself vegetarian. I still consume cheese. We know the addictive properties there with the casomorphins and the like, and would do eggs on occasion. Sometimes in packaged foods, they sneak dairy in like they do in most packaged foods. So I consider myself vegetarian at that point. And I lived my life that way for 5 years. And on October 1st, 2011, I decided to challenge myself for the month of October to go without the cheese and the eggs. 2 weeks in, I never felt better, and I haven't looked back since. So I'm coming up on my 7-year vegan anniversary, October 1st, 2018. Right. Yay. We can cue in the applause right there.
Wow, it's funny because how you just boom, and it wasn't even like Forks Over Knives or one of those movies or something that was intentionally trying to send that message.
I know that's
good
the
for
thing.
You. That's awesome.
Thank you. That's the thing that surprised me about myself. And let me add this in there too. While I was working that day job in the mortgage industry, that is, it eventually was going away, which I saw that happening. So as a precursor to that, and to keep myself gainfully employed, I went and got certified as a fitness trainer and started working evenings and weekends at one of the big box gyms. So let me backtrack. This is probably where the seed was actually planted.
Okay.
I had a client that came in September, and remember, that was September 2006, and remember my epiphany happened Thanksgiving Day 2006, so a couple months prior to that. And she was pregnant, and she was vegetarian. So remember, Midwest fitness buff guy, and I'm like, where are you gonna get your protein? I was that guy before. It trips me out now that I reflect back on it. And she was like, I'm vegetarian. I choose not to consume any type of flesh. She still did dairy, kind of like I did. But then she was pregnant and she had some complications, so I trained her probably a week or two at the most. And instead of dismissing her, when I asked her where she was going to get her protein, I went and did research. And that's how I found out, wow, you can live that way. So I like to credit her for planting the seed. The documentary on National Geographic Channel kind of showed it to me visually, and from there it just took place.
I think that's one of the really cool things about getting the message out to people. The second they hear it, it might be so foreign they're not ready to accept it. But you never know what's going to be that light switch turning on.
It was that client, and like I mentioned, she was pregnant, and I only trained her like 2 weeks, and then she had to go to the bed rest. So that 2 weeks is where the seed was planted, and it's amazing when I really look back at that. And it's funny, I ran into her about 5 years later at a fitness expo after I had become vegan, and I was there representing. I was being sponsored by a vegan supplement company at that time, and I was at the booth, and she came by, and I was like, I remember you. I'm here because of you. And that was a really eye-opening experience. And she's, finally went full vegan too. So that was kind of that reflection. It came full circle right there. So that was amazing.
I tell you, you must have been teased a little bit being a trainer going vegetarian.
You have no idea.
I'm sure the other people at the gym and the other trainers were probably the definite where you're going to get your protein from.
If I had $1 for every time, I'd be interviewing you. Yeah, I definitely received my more than fair share of ridicule, especially being in that fitness world, because as I mentioned, that day job went away, and I eventually became a full-time trainer, as well as competing in bodybuilding. So I've heard it all, from I'm gonna die to I'm gonna have a protein deficiency, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting that, or look at you, this is why you have this issue, you catch a cold, you should be eating meat, if I get a runny nose, it's always attributed to the lack of animal protein that I'm consuming.
Then how did they get sick?
Right, exactly. And it's funny because with my family, like I mentioned, I'm from the Midwest, and when I like to term it, came out of the closet with my family, I have a aunt that's a nurse, and she's been a nurse, 40 plus years, and she, of course, asked the question, where am I going to get my protein? And I had to look her square in the eye, and I said, well, in your 40 plus years of being a nurse, how many patients have you had to tend to with protein deficiency? And she said, none. And I said, well, what about patients with heart disease, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension? How often do you see that? And she said, every day. And I said, there's a correlation between consuming animal products and those diseases. And I think she had a moment of reflection. She never went vegetarian, but it did. I think I planted a seed there. So yeah, it's real, the ridicule that I've received from my family, as well as being in that gym environment.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it's even worse than when I grew up. I'm a little older than you are, and at least back then when we were kids, eat all your vegetables. Now people look at parents that are raising their children vegan or vegetarian and say, I think you're being cruel to your child because you're not taking them to McDonald's.
Exactly. I see that so much with kids today, and I've even seen cases where the state or officials would get involved and try to prosecute parents for child abuse or neglect
It's
from
crazy.
not feeding them animal products. I'm like, are we that deeply ingrained and think we can't sustain life without consuming animals? So yeah, it's a lot of work to be done out there.
Well, you have to give it to the animal farming industry.
Mm-hmm.
They've done a really good job at infiltrating everything and making sure that's what people believe.
Absolutely, and I mean, without going all conspiracy theory on you, but they do have their lobbyists, and they pay them a handsome sum to push their agenda forward and make people think that they need to consume these products because it's to the tune of their bottom line. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they have a hand in designing this whole food pyramid, or I think it switched to my plate now. So now it's a diagram of a plate, and it's a lot going on behind the scenes that keep that lie or myth relevant. It keeps it alive.
But we do know they're running scared. Look at the dairy industry.
Oh yeah.
They're losing quite a bit of money, and I've seen some farmers that have changed their crops to actual plant-based milks and closing dairies down. So they see the future. The thing is these nobody has to go out of business. They just change what they're producing.
Yeah, it's interesting how it's starting to evolve, believe it or not. I mean, I think a lot of these industries see that now they have to change. They have to, like you mentioned, the farmers changing their crops from dairy to plant sources. Some of the huge meat industry giants, who's that? Tyson Foods has invested in, I believe, Beyond Burger. A lot of these vegan companies are being bought out by bigger industries, and not to silence or shut it down. They see the future. So when it involves money, I think that kind of clicks with these industries. Like, okay, we need to find another way to make it. But like you say, they're not going down easy, because just the other day I saw a commercial where they claimed drink real milk as opposed to the alternative in their message now. So it's not just drink milk anymore or got milk. Now it's get real milk.
Drink real hormones.
Right. And pus and antibiotics.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is amazing to watch what's happening in the vegan movement right now and how it is growing. But how is it doing in the fitness industry?
It's becoming a little more in the eye of the fitness consumer, as we chatted about briefly earlier. My good friend, you guys probably know him, vegan bodybuilder, or as I call him, the godfather of vegan bodybuilding, is Robert Cheek. He's actually on the Fit Expo tour right now, and they have a vegan bodybuilding booth, in each exhibit that they're doing across the country. And this is the first year, actually, in 2018, that there's actually going to be a vegan bodybuilding booth at the Mr. Olympia here in Vegas. So we're starting to awaken people to it, and some of the big names in the, how do we say it, traditional bodybuilding industry. Yes, those guys. Arnold has even started to awaken people to it, and we see so many of the bodybuilders from that era dying so young or being sick. Like it's a well-known guy, I don't want to mention his name, that just had a heart transplant, and when he found out how sick he was, he started implementing more plant-based options when he had been pretty much a fixture of consuming large amounts of whey and dairy and animal flesh. And now he just successfully received a heart transplant. I mean, I wish him nothing but the best, and it's changed his tune. But it shouldn't cost you that extreme of a procedure to become enlightened. But I mean, if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
But he has a huge impact, and he can really do a lot for the movement as well, seeing how his life came in jeopardy and he had to actually get a heart transplant. And there are others like myself, and I mentioned Robert Cheek, and so many more people are becoming aware of the benefits of it and how they feel and how their body functions and recovers after intense workouts. That the shift is happening, and I just hope to continue to be an inspiration to people and help enlighten them and guide them in the right path, because this is the way we're truly meant to live.
Oh,
The way I
definitely.
feel. So in the fitness world, it's starting to happen. It's a ripple effect, but I'm in it for the long haul, so I'm
Well,
waiting on that big wave.
The sad thing is for so many years in the fitness industry, it's been about how big can I get and what I look like, and I won't stop at anything to do it. And you look at fitness like it should be healthy, but it was the exact opposite. So it'd be nice to see, like you said, there are people that are their kidneys are failing, and heart disease. I mean, wasn't even Arnold Schwarzenegger? He was in the hospital for a heart issue at one
He
point.
did. Yes, he was.
So it would be nice for it to be viewed as something as people can see that their recovery is better. They don't have to lose their bulk. They can be fit and healthy at the same time and not have to look forward to somebody cracking their chest open.
Exactly. Yeah. I'd rather switch to plant-based foods than have my sternum cracked open
Thank you.
and have a vein removed from my leg and placed in my heart. That's extreme. Not eating plants, and I think Dr. Esselton makes mention of that. But it is starting to happen. Just recently, for the first time ever, a vegan bodybuilder was featured on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. Guy named Nimai, I know him. He's out of Southern California, so that was huge. Actually, I just saw another guy. I believe he's in Australia. He's on the on the cover of Muscle and Fitness on their version down under. So it's starting to happen, and people are taking notice to that you're not losing anything as far as size. And so many of these guys who walk around big, and they, like you said, they do it purely for aesthetics. What's happening inside is detrimental. That affects your quality of life. Guys train and consume all this whey and dairy and casein and animal flesh to look a certain way, because you're on stage no more than a couple minutes, and it's so much inflammation and so much going on inside the body that's bad for longevity, that just to look that way for a certain amount of time, when you can consume plants, look just as good, and have better overall health, better
And
quality
feel
of
good.
life, feel better, absolutely.
Definitely.
So it's a win-win.
I actually got into fitness and bodybuilding when I was a teenager, and it has carried out through my life. And back then, I would get the Muscle and Fitness magazines, and the thing, it wasn't pushing the whey yet. It wasn't pushing that heavy thing. In fact, the more I saw was eat your pasta, get your carbs. You wanna that energy for your body. And do you know exactly when it really, I mean, kind of switched over? The whey thing, I think, is that people worry about getting enough protein all started with that in the bodybuilders.
And I believe that's where it truly came from. I don't know if that was strategically implemented that way, but it could have been.
Or if they thought that was going to be better for.
Yeah, I mean, but I believe that's why here in America, especially, we're obsessed with protein consumption. It could have started there, and I don't know when the shift occurred. Like you mentioned, it went from carbs to protein, but now if you pick up one of those popular muscle magazines, you're going to see just ad after ad after ad after ad from each supplement company pushing it down your throat. Protein, 80 grams of protein, 100 grams of protein, protein. I've seen a water called Protein 2.0. You see cereals, they'll highlight with protein. And believe it or not, I've even seen a protein-infused vodka. And it's promoted by one of the guys, I forget his name, from Jersey Shore. So you know it's got to be good for you. So it's this obsession, yet nobody's dying from lack of protein.
Actually, we're dying from too much protein.
Exactly. I was just talking to a woman here at the exhibit hall earlier today, in fact, and she wanted to pick my brain before my talk and was like, well, how do you get your protein first? And she was like, yeah, I used to compete, and I was one of the ones doing the shakes constantly and all the chicken and fish and tuna. And she said, I could literally feel my kidneys in pain. And I'm like, that should have been an indication right there, because your body's only going to absorb what it needs, and it doesn't need nearly as much as we've been led to believe. In the fitness industry, you see guys consuming 200 and 300 grams of protein, or they have some even formula where it's 2 grams to 2 pounds of body weight or some madness like that, and it's just like, why? Your body doesn't even need that.
And it can't get rid of it.
Exactly.
faster.
And it, to excrete it, your kidneys and liver are going to get taxed over time. I mean, to push all that out. And that's why she was saying that she could literally feel like kidneys in pain. Your body only needs a minute amount, and you can get everything that you need from a 100% whole food plant-based diet.
Exactly.
Everything.
What is even more important is vitamin C, but nobody asks where you get your vitamin C.
Nobody asks that. And also
we don't
fiber,
produce it. Exactly.
right there with
fiber.
it. Nobody says, hey, are you getting your fiber in? And the thing is, in that industry, fitness industry, especially bodybuilding, if the math, if it was logical to say he who consumes more protein has bigger muscles, then that would be what it would be about. Consume your 500, 600, 800 grams of protein and you'd have bigger muscles, but that's not what it's about. Building muscles is an adaptive response to the resistance training that you're doing. Protein is vital for life, absolutely, for repair and to make muscles stronger, but you don't need that much.
And our body recycles
exactly
a lot of it. So.
And if they really want to break it down, it's the amino acids which are abundant, especially in fruits, high water content fruits, that your body needs, because they're the building blocks of the 35 to 50 grams that you may actually need on a daily basis. And I may be overstating that. If I get 50 grams on a day, that's an extremely high day for me.
And I'm sorry to see you wasting away.
Right. I'm sitting right here withering away right now, folks.
I'm a big proponent of fruit. Eat your fruit, people.
I knew we had something in common.
Yes.
That's it. I consume about 80% fruits, high water content fruits. That's where it's at. And a lot of times in the evening, my wife will cook, or I may go off the fruit and have I guess we can say cheat meal at some vegan establishment every now and then. But
yes, I do see your Instagram posts.
Yes, I don't hide it. I never said I was perfect, but fruit is life, and one day I hopefully will be 100% fruitarian. I get there, and I do have streaks where I'll go a month or so just 100% fruit, and trust me, my aesthetically speaking, my body looks better, and I feel like I'm levitating on air. Fruit is life. People, if you don't take anything else away from this, fruit is life. Whole, fresh, ripe fruit will get you to places you've never been.
Yep, and it's almost like they demonize fruit.
Yes, that's what I was about to say. Yes, because I hear it so often, because when I get new clients, and the thing is, I see things differently. When I have a client that walks in my studio to see me, if they're overweight or obese, most people look at that person and see somebody that's greedy and gluttonous. I see somebody that's starving on a cellular level. Their cells are probably so congested, so clogged from fat deposits in the bloodstream that they're not able to absorb good nutrients. So that's where we start. I'm a big proponent of intermittent fasting, or I like to call it intermittent feeding, because fasting is a extended period if you really want to get technical. But I always try to encourage a feeding window so that it's the point where you're not eating. You have a dedicated time that you eat. Just set certain parameters. I don't like to say I do meal plans. I just set parameters and do nutritional guidance, because it's a journey. And fruit has been demonized by their doctor, because the moment, and a lot of these people are on prescription meds, and always say, all right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to get in contact with your doctor, because you're going to come off these meds quick. Your numbers are going to plummet. Your A1C, if that's high, it's going to drop like a rock. If you're on blood pressure meds, it's going to change within the first few days. It's going to drop from consuming a high amount of fruits and doing the intermittent fasting. And people are like, okay, yeah, right. And then, in a week or two, I'm like, go ahead and schedule an appointment. And their doctors are either taking them off of it altogether, or, drastically reducing the dosages. And the doctors always start out with a little static. Okay, this guy has eaten fruit. Well, or going plant-based, well, you at least need to eat fish, or you need to do this at least. It's always a suggestion of at least do this. But then after about a month and they're not on anything and feeling better, their health is taking a total 180, then it's like, okay, just continue to do whatever you're doing. Okay, maybe this guy does know something. So it's funny. They hold on to that patient so tight because I guess it's, possibly paying their mortgage and their kids' tuition. Right. I mean, come on, I'm probably taking away from their bottom line, but all I want to do is get people healthy. And yes, fruit has been viewed as the enemy when fruit is life. I'll say it again.
Well, and also people are getting nutrition information from doctors who get no nutritional training.
That is 100% true. All of the plant-based doctors, the forward thinkers that I like to say, they admitted themselves. They say they had very little, if any, nutritional training in med school. Mm-hmm. They came about this, I'll say, phenomenon, although it's not, the same way that I did. They, changed their lifestyle. They work with people hand in hand like I do, up close, and see their health improve drastically. And they do their research. Unfortunately, I don't have MD after Will Tucker, so I get a little pushback from the industry, but being that they didn't learn it in med school, I like to say the playing field is pretty level.
Exactly. I think that, like you said, you don't know. Yes, their patient may be paying for their kids' college tuition, but I think most doctors actually do go into it because they want to help people.
Oh yeah.
And I think their fear is that, well, I wasn't taught this, so is it true? Mm-hmm. And the more we convert people, and the more people that go back to their doctors and show them that it's true, we're seeing more shifts.
Yeah, and that's one huge thing. I really take my hats off to those doctors that are out there doing it. When you're talking about the Dr. Gregors, the Dr. Esseltons, Garth Davis, Michelle McMack, and Dr. Angie Sadeghi, all those guys, they're doing. Not only doing it, they're implementing it with their patients, and they're seeing the results. They're seeing chronic diseases being reversed just by implementing plants, not writing a prescription. True health lies in that produce section, but people think it's in CVS or Walgreens, and that's just something that hopefully make you have some better days. Some days are gonna be good, some days are gonna be bad. It makes it manageable. And the thing is, all pharmaceuticals are pretty much toxic to the system.
Yeah. And you end up getting a prescription for the side effects of the other prescriptions you're on.
Have you seen the side effect list? How when we see the pharmaceutical commercials, and then they run down the list of side effects, and they're only allowed to show commercials like that actually in 2 countries, the United States and New Zealand. I found that out. Nowhere else in the world pushes pharmaceutical commercials at the public like that.
And notice everyone's got sicker since they've done it.
Because it's kind of that it has kind of that almost like a placebo type effect. You see something and they say, if you have this is what you need, and you go run into your doctor like, this is what I need, I got that like you won something, like it's bingo. Hey, I got it. And then, like you said, you get those side effects from the medication, and you're taking 3 or 4 things to combat different side effects, and it's like, you could probably just eat more plants and get rid of all of that.
But and think of how much money people could save too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure co-pays, insurance, food industry, pharmaceutical industry, it's like a perpetual cycle, and it needs to be broken. Mm-hmm. And plants are the answer.
They are the answer. And yes, there are a lot of foods out there that are highly processed and transitional foods and fun foods, but a whole food plant-based diet is not expensive. Don't let anybody fool you that you have to be rich to be on a whole food plant-based diet. Since when they're rice and beans and and even fruits and veggies, and I've lived in houses where we've had fruit trees in the backyard. You can't eat all the fruit.
Exactly.
Plant a tree.
Exactly. That's one thing.
Find a community thing to plant a tree.
I love that part of Arizona when it's citrus season. Oh my God. It's like I can just go forage and and eat for days. And I don't have any fruit trees in my yard, unfortunately, but I mean, I can go with friends and neighbors and fill up bag after bag because they can't eat it. They can't consume all of it. It just drops on the ground. It's like, eat me, eat me. It's like, I was up high first. I matured. I ripened. Now I'm going to drop on the ground. Please pick me up and eat me. So, yeah, I have a windfall every year when it's citrus season in Arizona. And right now it's peach season. And I do know some people with some peach trees. So I will be knocking on your door soon.
Yep, you know they can't eat them all.
Exactly.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is from the Phoenix area, and my husband and I drove there, and I was just amazed at how many citrus trees are everywhere.
Yeah.
There's no reason for anybody to go hungry there. I'm telling you.
Not at all. Not at all. And you're getting some of the best nutrition on earth. I mean, it's from seed, water, and sunlight. I mean, it's the best. No additives, no preservatives, nothing taken out of it, nothing added to it. I mean, it's perfect nutrition.
Yep.
I mean, I'll just go ahead and say it. I try sometimes say, nothing is perfect, but it doesn't get any better than that. Fruit is perfect nutrition.
It is. I wanted to ask you also, since you are working with people that are coming to you in the shape of eating a standard American diet and seeing these changes, what kind of miraculous things do you see? You did mention they get off their medication. Do you see their families changing to their food, or
Oh yeah,
just life-changing things happening?
yeah. I mean, I see it all the time. I mean, of course, losing weight is just a side effect of it. But I mean, as far as getting off the medications, it's like you see a whole different person. Their spirit changes. The way the vitality. I mean, you can tell from the first few workouts, and of course, it's a progression. But by that first second month, when they've been consuming more plants, because that's all I promote. I don't promote anybody consuming any type of animal products. I'd be a hypocrite if I did that. And you see them, it's like they're literally coming to life the more they train with me, and it's an amazing thing. And then, like you mentioned, you hear that I have a huge a lot of my clients are women. You'll hear that, hey, my husband started on it, now my kids started, because they see them and they see how they just start to radiate life. And when they're coming home, they're like, why are you so happy and all the time? And it's just from changing the diet. And then a lot of times, I mean, the wife or woman of the house does do the shopping and cooking. I'm not being chauvinistic here at all, trust me, but I'm just speaking in real terms. And they guide the family in that direction, and it's a beautiful thing when I see that, hey, my kids tried it now and they've lost 30 pounds, or my husband has been doing what I do, or a significant other or whatever, and they've lost weight and they've seen the benefits, and we're in this thing. And then that's when I slowly start to introduce documentaries, like we mentioned earlier, like, hey, well, why don't you take a look at Earthlings? I mean, you're doing it for your health, you're enjoying that, but see what this lifestyle is really about. And mention cruelty-free products, as far as hygiene products, household products, things like that still test on animals, to get more people to really, I guess, submerge in the vegan lifestyle. You can be plant-based and experience extreme health benefits, and that's great because the animals are benefiting and the environment is still benefiting from that. But just to, even if they don't eradicate the leather or whatever from their wardrobe, still having awareness, make them, I like to make people aware of the impact that their choices make, and how the impact across the board is felt.
I think that if someone goes into this for health reasons and then they start learning the other reasons, they actually have a lot more reason to want to stick to it.
Yeah,
Because people
absolutely.
will punish themselves.
Yep.
They've done it for years, and and they can, just one slip, and that could be it, and you know, it could be, oh, that was too much work, I won't do
Yes.
it. But if they start thinking, I'm going to have an impact on the environment, or I love animals and I don't want to see that happen, I find that that extra knowledge keeps them wanting to do it even more.
Absolutely, yeah. It's that's why I do it that way. After they reap the benefits and they introduce the family to it, and then slowly start to expose them to other areas. Um, animal cruelty aspect, the environmental impact, and a lot of people do it clicks, because they know how their health transformed, how they felt prior to going plant based, and how they feel now, and then it's almost like it lifts this veil, if you will, from over your eyes, and you start to see the world differently. You no longer see animals as something, but as someone, like that documentary did for me. When I realized I was eating somebody's baby, it was just, it's life changing. And like I said, it wasn't one of the popular ones with me. It was just something I happened to click on.
And I think when people start having more compassion and breaking down that wall that you have to put there to want to participate, when they break that down and have more compassion out there, then they have more compassion for themselves and to take better care of themselves.
Absolutely. I believe that's 100% accurate. Absolutely.
So, what else do I want to ask you? Oh, if somebody wants to come work out with you.
Okay, well, if you guys want to train with me, if you want in-person training, hopefully you're in the Phoenix, Arizona area. I have a fitness studio in Mesa, Arizona, Will Tucker Fitness, or WTF as I go by. And I do small group training, up to 10 clients at a time, workouts at 30 minutes in length, designed to boost metabolism, shed excess body fat, build lean muscle, and with all training plans, plant-based nutritional guidance is included. If you guys are from afar, I just recently started a YouTube channel. I need to get back to work on that. Will Tucker Fitness TV, where I'm uploading one full-length workout on a weekly basis. Like I said, I need to get caught back up with that, but that's available for people that are not in the Phoenix area. And I do also, I don't like to call it online, but nutritional consultation from afar. All that information is available on my app, the Will Tucker Fitness app, which is available at Google Play and the App Store. So, and of course, I'm on Instagram at Will Tucker Fitness, Facebook, Will Tucker Fitness, and I think that's about it. Like that wasn't enough.
I wanted to ask you also, because the supplement industry towards fitness is huge right now. And as you know, my husband and I own a health food store. I don't push supplements. I don't really believe in supplements. I want to know your take on this.
I'm with you on that. I never promote any supplements. I mentioned earlier in this interview that I was being sponsored by a plant-based nutraceutical company some years ago. Even with that and access to free product, I still rarely, if any time, used it. I mean, now don't get me wrong, I have done the powders and everything else before from, like I said, my Midwestern roots and being in the gym. Yeah, I was one of those believers in all this protein propaganda, as I like to call it. And sometimes you see this in a pill or this powder or potion or lotion, and you think, okay, that's going to get my physique to the next level. For the last several years, have been supplement free. I don't use any supplements nor promote or advise anybody to do it. You can get all the nutrients you need from a whole food plant-based diet, fruit first, because of the nutrient synergy, if you will. Like if you take even a plant-based protein powder, you can still get that isolated, concentrated protein, yet your body doesn't recognize isolated chemistry like it does with nutrients that work in synergy, like if you picked up an apple, for example. And that's what your body truly thrives on. Those sugars that are in fruits, although they get a bad rap for their sugar, it's different from processed refined stuff. Anything that's being made in a plant, I think I heard this somewhere, you need to avoid. Anything from a plant is okay. Okay, now there are some poison plants out there, but not everything, but you get what I'm saying.
Well, and when you look at protein powders, they're a processed food. It's not real food anymore. You'd be much better off even throwing lentils in a smoothie than you would doing a protein powder.
Absolutely. That's what it comes to, getting whole food plant-based nutritional sources. Anything that's packaged and like you mentioned, whether it's a powder or in a pill, you just can't duplicate nature. It's not ideal for your body. Yes, you can sustain life. We all know that from our years as omnivores, that you can sustain life eating that way or using those shakes, but they're not ideal. You can experience a whole nother level of fitness and feel good, if you will, by dropping those and just relying on whole food sources. And I have this dialogue with a lot of people, and they swear by these, you know, supplements, whether they're plant-based or not. And I always say, no, just eat the plants. Go straight to the source, you know. Cut out the processed stuff. That's the best way to do it. Now, I did mention earlier that I do indulge in a cheat meal. I'm here in Vegas, and I'll try out some of these nice, amazing vegan spots, but it won't be in a jar.
Did I see you at the Modern Vegan on
Oh,
your,
yeah. Just the other
on
day,
your
rolled right
Instagram?
into town and went there. I said I had to try that one while I was here.
I went vegan in Las Vegas in 1991. There was nothing.
Wow.
There was
I can only
nothing.
imagine.
Now it's just amazing.
Yeah.
New restaurants are opening all the time. So, yeah.
You guys have quite the collection of vegan establishments here.
There's a lot of years of what do you steam your rice in? I'll just eat plain white rice.
Yeah.
If I went out, or I'll just have lettuce, thank you.
I know how that goes. I can only imagine what it was like back in the 90s. I'm just reflecting back to 2011 when I first went 100% vegan, and I've seen so much change as far as
it's been amazing.
Taste and variety and everything. Now, we are probably talking about a lot of processed foods, which aren't your best, but they do serve a purpose, I think, as far as people transitioning from a standard American diet.
But even the fact that zucchini noodles have gotten out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's something that is not
There
processed in a
There
way.
you go. And I see so many people loving them, whether they're omnivores or not. And I always use the term omnivore because they're the true carnivores live in the wild. Although people say I'm a carnivore, it's so hard. No, I mean you can Google carnivore. You're not gonna see a human pop up. You'll see animals, but not of the human type. And sometimes I loosely use omnivore. I think humans are scavengers at best, and not very good ones because everything has to be packaged and seasoned and eye pleasing and taste a certain way. So yeah, we got some scavengers out there. I still hope to reach.
Yeah, I remember one of the first books I read was Diet for a New America, and when they mentioned in it that the reason meat actually has flavor is they add the urine back into it for flavor.
Oh wow, I've never heard that one.
Yeah, and that just kind of right there, that would turn you off, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So what people, especially with the paleo kick going on, and that
goodness.
if people actually had to go out and eat something that another animal killed because it was left behind because you didn't have the tools or the speed that true carnivores had, yeah, they'd be looking for their their salt shaker and their different
exactly.
seasonings.
They're gonna use a ton of herbs and plants to season it to get it to taste good. So it's not the flesh they're attracted to, like you mentioned. If it was some leftover kill from a true carnivore, they're not gonna pick it up and just indulge in it. They like for it to be delivered to their local supermarket, packaged with the whatever they use to make it appear to be pink or red.
Yes, they inject it with dyes
because
it's not
true
healthy
flesh
anymore.
would be gray or brown even.
It's deteriorating and decaying at that point. Yeah.
Exactly. So the scavengers like it packaged nicely, if you will. They're not going to go out and get the roadkill left over. I mean, if we were truly that way, I think the world would be vegan because nobody's doing it. So nobody's scraping up roadkill.
Exactly. Yeah, there are a few hunters out there, but it would be so few and far between, I think.
But even the hunters, I mean, I'm not giving them any credit by any means. Right. Don't get me wrong, but even with the kill, they process the meat. The ones that say, "Well, I hunt and I kill," cowards, as I like to call them, pretty much assassinating an innocent animal in its natural habitat.
Mm-hmm.
They even process the meats and have it cleaned, and when they store it in their freezer, it's got to be a certain way, certain cuts and all this other stuff. So it's still the same, just a little more hands-on because of the killing aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing it with their hands; they're using a rifle. I mean,
exactly.
I like to see one of them go chase a deer down and just
Try
rip
to
into it with their teeth and hands.
exactly.
I digress on that.
And as a fitness trainer and award winner and fruit eater,
Mm-hmm.
what do you say to the guys when they say, "But my meat makes me manly"?
Oh, those guys. Yes, yes. The manly men. We can't forget about them. Well, Mr. Man. Let's see. My gender hasn't changed since going plant-based, first and foremost. In fact, I'd be willing to do any type of panel or test to see how much free testosterone I may have against any carnivore, and I'm pretty sure I'd be way ahead. And it goes to the same patriotic, type society that we live in, and also, I mean, and this is well, kind of off the subject. Most of these guys, eventually go to take this little blue pill because their arteries are clogged and they're not getting blood flow. If you understand what I'm saying, eat plants, you can pretty much reverse or eliminate that by switching to a whole food plant-based diet, and there's your manhood for you right there. And if you can't work with your God-given appendages without a pharmaceutical, I'd be looking to explore other options, and plant-based is the way to go. But yeah, there is this shield of masculinity that comes with consuming animal products, and we've proven that it doesn't prevent you from building muscle. All the guys I know that are vegan are still just as masculine, if you will, as the day I met them, and it's been years.
And probably more, especially if they're staying away from dairy and with all of the hormones and the estrogens.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of these same guys that you perceive to be manly because they eat meat, they also say, "Oh, well, soy is bad for you," but yet they'll eat the flesh of an animal that's been injected with every type of hormone and antibiotic known to man, and they'll munch on that and don't realize they're getting this concentrated, potent dose of this concoction of hormones and antibiotics that's fat soluble, so once it dissolves, it's there in your body fat. It's not water soluble. It's not like you're excreting it when you go relieve yourself. It's sitting there in your system. But with the soy myth, and I'm sure that's been brought on by other industries that have financial interest to lose. I know plenty of tofu eaters that are, as big and strong as ever and don't have man boobs or not increased estrogen, none of that. I mean, they think if you eat tofu, you're going to turn into a woman, and that's just not the case.
Doesn't beer actually have more phytoestrogens anyway, or an estrogenic effect than soy, I believe?
I've never heard of that, but you could be 100% right. I mean,
and they won't turn down beer.
Oh no, that's manly. That's a requirement. Have a beer and a steak. But those guys crack me up. It's not about being manly. It's about being compassionate, making conscious decisions with what you consume, what you put in your body, your health, the environment, and the animals. I mean, not necessarily in that order, but it's all encompassing.
I wanted to ask you, because we were speaking of your aunt, how many other family members of yours are vegan, or were they supportive when you went vegan?
No, I was well, I'll go with the first question first. Let me see. I'm gonna start counting other family members that have went vegan since me. That's a big fat zero. I'm the alien in the family. A
What
lot
about
of
your
people.
wife, though?
My wife is vegan. She's a couple years in. When we met, she wasn't, and she actually, I didn't force it on her. I was vegan. She did respect my lifestyle, and when we got married, she didn't bring animal products in the house. If she was doing anything, any type of animal products, it was always outside of the house, which I applaud her for that. Um, and her experience was a little different. She kind of got a real life deal because she does a lot of event planning, and she was working with a company that actually owns a dairy farm, and she just saw the sadness in these cows' eyes, and it clicked from her seeing that. And she's been vegan a little over 2 years now. And hers was a journey too, because when we got together, she did stop eating red meat. She was limited. She limited herself. I didn't, like I say, force her in any way to just fish, and seafood was her big thing. It wasn't even cheese, and she eventually got that out of her system. And she was never big on dairy, but
That's lucky. A lot of people have a hard time with dairy.
I know, but just seeing the sadness in those cows' eyes from events she did on this farm, in the Phoenix area, and of course, going to different vegan events with me, because I like to say I kind of guide her in the right direction without being forceful about it, or preachy in any sense of the word. She did come to several of the vegan festivals, Veg Fest, and was steadily getting information and gathering knowledge. But it was until she went to that farm, and I think like maybe the third time, and she just quit doing business with that company, and she went all in and hasn't looked back since. And it's been over 2.5 years.
Awesome. That's great. So. It is funny though how being disconnected from what's really going on is what they do to keep everybody in the status quo.
Yeah, exactly. Because if we saw what these animals had to endure, I think people would stop immediately. It was the connection that I mentioned for me in that documentary. It was mom baby, whatever animal it was, mom baby. If it was a cub and a bear, they cared and nurtured and had this intimate connection. If it was a cow and a calf, if it was a kangaroo and a baby kangaroo in the pouch, it was just like, I am eating somebody's baby. And a lot of those things aren't necessarily on the radar as far as what we call food here in America, but the intimacy and the connection. And it was just like, what have I been doing all of my life? For 36 years, I had just been unconscious and attributing to enslavement and torture of these innocent beings. Like I mentioned, it became someone because I saw how the mom and the baby interacted on this documentary that I watched, and it 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 lifted the veil.
Yeah.
It really did it for me. Like I said, it was 5 years vegetarian, and I don't know why it didn't go immediately vegan, but it was enough to make me stop eating all meat. Like I said, the eggs crept in every now and then, and cheese remained, I go ahead and say, a staple. And then when I decided to challenge myself, October 1st, 2011, and like I said, I haven't looked back since. Yeah. But that connection, that is someone. If people could see that and see what these animals have to endure, I think a lot of people would go vegan immediately.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, and it's sometimes, especially when you're located where maybe you don't have a good support system or anything, it does take a strong person to do it.
It does, and I see so many people, different groups that I belong to on social media or different blogs. They're like, I've been trying to do this, but my spouse isn't supportive, or my family is giving me a hard time. It's always, you're gonna die, protein, the usual suspects, and they find the support they need in those online forums. And I've seen a lot of people actually able to sustain because of the fact they rely on certain groups that, like I said, I'm affiliated with, or following certain people on social media that are vegan. I don't want to, glamorize or, make it like hero worship, but if we're all there, we should be able to support people when they feel they don't have anybody to turn to, because if they're constantly in that environment and hearing criticism from family or significant other, they're gonna go back eventually. So I always tell people, if you feel the need, reach out to me. I can point you in the direction of resources. I'll always open up my inbox to anybody. It may take a while to get back because sometimes I do have a lot going on, and as well as people hitting me up in the inbox, but I will definitely get back with you eventually, and I can point you in the right direction so that you're not going through this alone. You're on the right side of history. Hang in there, keep doing what you're doing, and get connected with others that are like-minded.
Exactly, and I think because of the way it's growing now, it's going to be so much easier for people.
If it's a ripple effect now, the wave is coming, and I can't wait to ride that wave and get people healthy, save some animal lives, start honoring Mother Earth, and it's going to be a beautiful thing once we get there.
I think another thing that we in the vegan community also have to remember, we don't need to police our own.
Ooh.
You can see out there that there's bickering amongst, you're not vegan enough, or you're not raw, or we're a family. We
Absolutely.
should all realize we've got the same goal.
Absolutely.
If somebody wants to just be a junk food vegan, but they're helping the planet and they're helping the animals, more power to them.
Let them be.
Yep, exactly.
Don't discourage them. That's one thing. We do really need to learn to work together more. So, and I'm happy to say, in the Phoenix community, vegan community, there's bickering. I won't even lie. It's a lot of bickering, like you say, not vegan enough, vegan police, or however you want to term. And I find that people are very passionate about it, and sometimes they don't relay their message in the most constructive way, and they come across a certain way and may seem like they're being, putting people down. But and I've had this discussion with especially passionate animal rights activists who I've even been criticized before because I speak at a lot of events and I promote it from a health and wellness standpoint. And I sat them down and I said, look, I'm it's like we're a team. I'm not the enemy, first of all. I'm not from big agriculture. I'm not from the meat industry. I'm here with you. We're in this together. I think the animals are applauding my efforts because of the fact when I speak, often my inboxes with messages, Will, you made it seem so attainable. I'm doing it. I'm in. I think the animals are applauding that. They're not applauding the bickering that we're doing because we're not serving the purpose. Let's work together. Let's think of it as a team, a basketball team either. People play different roles, different positions. If I'm using health and wellness as a tool to promote social change, let that be. We're on the same side. If you're out there, doing open rescues and protesting, and if you don't see me doing it that way, that's fine. We're in this together, though. Exactly. We're just playing different roles. And that's what a lot of people have to realize. They think their way is the right way, but it's like my activism is just that, my activism. Let me do it my way.
Well, there's always going to be the one person that is going to hear it with your message where they may not with the animal rights activists or even environmentally. There are a lot of people out there that think they're environmentalists and they eat animal products.
Yeah,
and you kind of can't.
That's a real hypocritical situation. I mean, if you're caring about the planet but yet contributing to the biggest weight in a negative way on the planet, something you need to get your chakras aligned. Exactly. Something isn't quite in check. You can't say you're an environmentalist and you're having a steak, or like a lot of times with people, they claim they love animals and then they're petting their cat and eating a burger in the other hand. It's like you like domesticated pets. You don't love animals because you wouldn't be eating a cow. So yeah, we got some straightening out of people to do at large rather.
One thing I've noticed too, when people I've had people that I've spoken with, and they've said, I tried being vegan, but I didn't feel good, so I went back to eating meat and I felt great. Well, I think there's a few things, and maybe you've seen this too. When you kill an animal for food, their adrenaline is through the roof. And when you eat it, the adrenaline's there.
Absolutely.
Well, if you were taking a drug that did that and you stopped it cold turkey, pun intended, then you may be going through some withdrawals. That was a drug effect. That wasn't you're lacking anything from the meat effect. And I'm sure that happens with a lot of bodybuilders switching over.
Yeah.
And you want to, your adrenals probably are not functioning properly either. They're false functioning. And when you get off of it, you want to build your adrenals up.
You said it.
So,
I have nothing more to add to that. You said exactly what I say to people. I mean, you're getting that adrenaline, you're getting that fear, you're getting everything that you're consuming in that animal product, because that animal is a sentient being. It sees what's happening to the other animals that are surrounding it. It knows when it's hanging upside down about to get its throat slit. It knows what's coming, just like if it was you or I or anybody out there listening. If you see something coming, you're gonna, like you said, your adrenals are gonna kick in, the heart's gonna race faster, everything. And those, I guess, responses on a physiological level, yes, that's exactly what you're getting in that dead carcass flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And you get that surge of adrenals in that form. It's not your body producing it, like you mentioned, it's from consumption of that flesh. And of course, when you take it away, as you mentioned, equating it to a drug, you're gonna not feel a certain way. But the thing is, you can rebuild that, and you just got to stick it out.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure exercise helps because that's raising your feel good
Absolutely.
hormones when you're working out.
And that's the beauty of it, you can rebuild that. You'll start to feel good. I hear it all the time. I went vegan, but I didn't feel good. I said, were you training with me? Were you working with me? No. Well, let's give it a shot. So at least you're open to it. And I appreciate, you trying before, but let's try to get you on the right path so that it becomes a lifestyle for you, and you feel good and you enjoy all the benefits of it, and you have that positive impact on the world.
Exactly. Yep. And I tell you, if you could clone yourself and bring one of you here to Vegas,
Don't I
or
wish?
at least train someone, because I get so many people coming into the health food store. Do you know any vegan trainers? Because my trainer drives me crazy. They're just like, where are you getting your protein? I'm gonna look at them and go, where are you getting your nutrients?
Right. I hear that all the time from, vegans seek me out because I'm a breath of fresh air in the Phoenix community. Like, oh my goodness, finally somebody who gets it and that isn't going to make me eat eggs or, question me about my protein. Vegan trainers are, becoming a lot more popular nowadays. A lot of people are starting to see what's happening, and there are trainers. I actually know a couple in Vegas area. I don't know if you're familiar with Lillian Aguilar.
Okay.
She's actually on tour with Robert right now in Chicago at the Fit Expo.
Okay.
I think they'll be back tomorrow, Monday maybe. She lives here. She's a certified trainer and nutritionist. Been vegan for 16 years now. She competes in uh, fitness shows as well.
Well, I'll have to start telling people about her.
Yeah, she's here locally. Yeah, you guys definitely need to connect. There's somebody else here too. Okay, I can't think. Why am I drawing a blank right now? But she's definitely here. So yeah, there are. I mean, it may be far and few between with the industry as a whole, but a lot more vegan trainers are out there nowadays than there were a few years ago when several years ago when I first got into it, and um, was pretty much one of a kind. I still do, however, have the only 100% plant-based fitness studio in the whole state of Arizona. So, and I keep it that way. Like right now, or when I travel to do talks and the like, I do have a team of assistant trainers that I work with, or works with my clients in my absence, and it's two things I require. One, for them to be certified, and of course know what they're doing, and the other one to be vegan. I'm not going to turn my clients over to somebody that's going to say, hey, well, what about incorporating eggs, or what about this, or what about that? So I screen my people good, and like I said, they're knowledgeable, they're experienced, they're wonderful. I couldn't be in a better situation when I need to be away, further spreading the message. They got my back and working with my people and making sure things run smoothly at WTF.
That's awesome. Well, I could just sit here all afternoon, but I know you have a talk coming up.
I do.
And I so appreciate this. This was so much fun.
Well, thank you. It's been a blast. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. Won't be the last time, that's for sure.
All right. I like to hear that. Hopefully we can reach some people, vegan and non-vegans. And, to the non-vegans out there, just challenge yourself like I did for that month of October 2011. Just, try it at the beginning of a month. A lot of times, we can set a goal at the first, like a lot of people, decide in January they were all of a sudden going to get fit, New Year's resolutions. But set a goal at the beginning of the month and just say, okay, I'm going to try to go to a month of, whatever, without consuming the animal products. And your body will thank you. Truly try it. And if you need any support or tips, like I mentioned, I'm on Instagram at Will Tucker Fitness. I'm on Facebook, Will Tucker Fitness. Will Tucker Fitness TV on YouTube. You can get a free workout there, just like the same workouts my clients get in my studio that I work with one-on-one. And if you want nutritional guidance, if you download the Will Tucker Fitness app, I'm here for you.
And you're never too old to start and make a change.
Absolutely not.
Never.
I've seen a few people across social media who say their 91-year-old grandmother all of a sudden stopped eating meat. It clicked for her. It took 91 years, but it's a new beginning.
Yep.
It's not an end. It's a new beginning, and that's what it's all about. Anybody can do it. You're never too old. Just make up your mind that you want to improve the quality of your life without the need for any pharmaceuticals. You want to do it compassionately and just do it. Your body will thank you.
It's really sad to see young people, and you ask them how old they think they're going to live to, and they say 40 or 50, maybe because they went through it with a family member, or they're just seeing people that are older that are miserable on medications and can't move. And there's a life to have out there and enjoy and not be in pain.
Yeah,
I'll be 53 in my next birthday.
Well, you look amazing.
Why, thank you. And I feel like I did when I was in my 20s when I went vegan.
Absolutely. So. That's the huge benefit of it. And so many people say that. They're like, they're not going to live long, or they think just because, their parents or grandparents or any family members had something, they figure they're just set up for a life of doom and gloom. And a lot of things are passed down, generationally speaking, including but not limited to, hair color, eye color, height. And the one thing nobody ever addresses, bad habits.
Yep.
If you address that.
The same recipes.
Exactly, because you literally have the power to turn those genes on or off based on your environmental factors, based on dietary choices that you make. You're not necessarily doomed. Those genes can be turned on and off, as T. Colin Campbell has proven with the China study. By introducing
get moving and eat
products.
Plants.
There you go. That's the short answer. Get moving and eat plants, people.
All right. Thanks, Will. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it.